The CEO of telecom giant Rogers Communications was in the hot seat this afternoon, grilled by MPs of all stripes about service contracts that allow the company to raise fees for rental equipment. The issue was first raised in a CBC Go Public investigation more than a month ago. CBC's Sarah Galashan has had an eye on the parliamentary hearing this afternoon. She joins me now from Vancouver. So, Sarah, fill us in. What were the highlights here?
Travis, things were fiery really right from the start. The Standing Committee on Industry and Technology, they had wanted to speak with Rogers CEO Tony Staffieri for more than a month now. He had delayed once, then he was supposed to testify last Thursday, but at the last minute he subbed in a proxy, his president for residential operations, and the MPs were not shy about expressing the insult that they felt by that move. So things really sort of started off with the CEO Staffieri saying that he had a personal scheduling conflict. He was happy to be here today to answer what questions he could. The purpose of the hearing to examine service contracts that are offered by telecom communications companies. Chiefly, are they fair? Are they upfront about any fees that are paying? Specifically, there was a lot of attention paid to one contract that Rogers offers customers who are renting TV boxes. These are boxes that attach to your television and allow the customer to stream or rather interact with apps that allow for streaming and as well as access cable. Conservative MP Rick Perkins was the first to sort of go at the CEO of Rogers over the fact that, as it turns out, as Go Public first exposed, the fees that are paid by those customers can go up mid-contract. And as Perkins points out, that's despite profits that are being made by the telecom giant. I want to play you that exchange.
Given the fact that in the first 9 months, your $5.8 billion of cable revenue produced almost $3.4 billion of gross profit. The need to jack up by $7 a box and hide it and slip it under the door with Canadians.
Very clear and transparent with our contracts as to what's included and what isn't. Our term commitments are on base TV services, and we make it clear. There are other items that are add-ons, and the customer has the discretion to include them or not.
And Staffieri went on to talk about the fact that there are other options to customers rather than the TV boxes. There's a TV app that provides a sort of similar service to them if they would prefer. He insists that customers are a priority for Rogers, that investments are being made to improve services. And on the point of investments, he was also questioned about investments the company has made, foreign and in the entertainment industry, specifically to do with sports ownership and distribution. And what he said to that end is that Rogers is making those investments in order to improve customer service and to give the customers what they want. Travis?
All right, Sarah. So this all started really with a complaint from a customer out on Vancouver Island. What can you tell us about that?
Yeah, no, that's right. It's a customer named Kathy Cooper who reached out to our CBC's Go Public team to investigate the $7 extra that she was paying on these TV boxes, all aside from one that she had. She had multiple ones that were working on her many TVs, and now she was suddenly paying $7 extra on each of these boxes, despite the fact that she had signed a 2-year term contract at a different price, and she didn't think that it was fair. Now, as it turns out, that contract, several pages into it, there's a clause about price guarantee, or a section called about price guarantee, and a clause within it that basically says that there is no guarantee, that the price that you have agreed to is going to be the one that you continue to pay, that price on every box except for one has the potential to be raised. What we heard from Staffieri is that he said he couldn't say how many other customers might be affected by that. He says that he believes certainly not the majority of customers, that sales staff for Rogers are as upfront with customers. He insisted. And to that, I want to play you an exchange between Michelle Rempel-Gardner, Conservative MP, and the Rogers CEO. Take a listen to that.
Would you table the script that the sales rep who sold Kathy Cooper her contract with this committee that they used?
Yes, our frontline scripts is something that we can
would that conversation
have been committee.
Would that conversation have been recorded for quality assurance and training purposes?
We do record our customer interactions.
Would you provide that conversation that your sales rep had with Kathy Cooper for this committee?
We will table that with this committee.
So, as I say, Travis, getting answers right to the top there. It wasn't just Rogers that was at this hearing, I want to point out. There was also a Bell executive, a VP for legal and regulatory, that was on hand to answer what he could about service contracts at that company. But far and away, the majority of the questions were being directed to the CEO of Rogers Telecommunications. And like I say, that Go Public investigation really informed a lot of those questions.
Mm-hmm. Okay, Sarah, thanks for this. CBC Sarah Glashan in Vancouver starting us off. Well, my next guest put forward the motion to hear from Staffieri. Brian Masse is an NDP MP. He joins us tonight from Ottawa. Mr. Masse, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Were you satisfied with the answers Mr. Staffieri provided today during his testimony?
No, I wasn't. It really seemed that he was distant from some of the points that I think are really there for consumers and Canadians, where the price of their product is, going up, and people don't have that, I guess, skill set or money at times to even pay for it. And so, real quickly, what I think he doesn't understand is that he's even treating his own customers as sometimes winners and sometimes losers, because if you can fight for a lower price, you're going to get it. But if you can't, then you won't get it. So it's just not fair for Canadians.
So what would you have liked to hear from him that you just didn't today?
I would have loved him to say that we're going to stop doing that with the boxes and extra charges, and to apologize to his customer base. I mean, we've had not only just a number of people call us and email in their stories, but we've seen this, and he seems quite comfortable, and maybe perhaps it's a $30 million salary that does it to you, to let, say, for example, if you're a single mom and you're having to work and you can't fight with Rogers for 5-6 hours on the phone, or a person with a disability, or somebody that English is second language, or I read a case of a student needing an advocate being her father, to get a lower price and a better price. And they seem to be okay with winners or losers and putting neighbor versus neighbor. And I just think that's hard to accept as a legislator, because it should be fair practices for all.
Now, this took a little bit of time to get to, because I know that you are the one who tabled the original motion to hear from him. What do you make of the fact that his appearance today was a bit delayed because somebody else was sent earlier?
Yeah, it was really unfortunate. And we had actually waited even a month longer, because when I passed the motion, I did so with the consent of the chair to have some flexibility. So they selected the original date, and for them to back out of it, was really wrong. I mean, they didn't even mention that with regards to, they got a chance to pick a date in November versus what I had originally done was October. And, people are still paying the price on the costs of, the increases. And it would have just been nice today for them to say, sorry, we're not going to charge these prices anymore. We're not going to be predators on our own customers and make winners and losers. And quite literally, you have some people that are subsidizing other Rogers, people in the system. And I want to end it for all telcos with regards to, having a contract and them breaking the contract by doing this type of activity. I want to end that for all Canadians. So
hundreds of people wrote to Go Public saying they were misled by Rogers. Do you think that their response today in the face of that was appropriate? And really, what do you think they need to do now for those customers and all of their customers, really?
Well, they should treat them fairly and equally. And I think the Go Public piece was excellent in terms of why we need, quite frankly, investigative reporting is a cornerstone of our democracy, because it gave kind of real stories of, people suffering. And it also shows the, kind of how if you can fight your way through the system, you're going to get a better price than your neighbor across the hall, in another apartment. And it just doesn't make any sense. And it's not fair, because you could have a person with a disability or so forth, or just not have an advocate, and they just don't get it. They don't get it at all. So I think it's up to right now, especially given the fact that the Liberal minister okayed the takeover of basically Shaw by Rogers, that he needs to step up and put a regulatory practice in place to stop all these telcos from breaking their contracts. You can't break their contract and charge less. Why should they be able to break their contract and charge more?
There are three giants in this country: Rogers, TELUS, and Bell. What can government do here to protect consumers beyond, having committees like this and hearing testimony and urging big corporations to do better? What can the government do?
It's regulation and not allowing, endless pages of doublespeak to be part of the approval process of your contract there. The airwaves are actually owned by Canadians. That's what we have. And then they have the privileged companies here are sheltered from, some competition on top of that. So there's no reason not to bring in regulation that could be simple. So we could make sure that a contract is signed, that it has to be lived up to, and not have hidden fees and hidden ways to increase those contracts later on. That can be done by the minister tomorrow. The CRTC has noted some of these things, but that could take months. The minister just needs to act right now. I think everybody gets that this is wrong, and pitting Canadians versus Canadians and making sure that, a system is in place that's fair for all is something that we should expect from our own telcos, because, again, this belongs to the airwaves of Canadians.
Yep.
And having people treated differently is just sad.
Yeah, a lot of Canadians frustrated by this story. Brian Masse, appreciate your time tonight on this topic. That is Brian Masse, NDP MP, joining us from the nation's capital.